Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. So doing another shop tour here, and this time I am with Neil Tyson, and Neil is up in Harvest, Alabama, up in the Huntsville, Alabama area, North Alabama, in the beautiful Tennessee Valley. I like this part of the state. It's really nice up here.
When it rains. When
it rains. It's pretty dry right now. It is at home too. But I've actually had the opportunity to get to know Neil over the last couple of years. I traveled up here with my job from time to time, and have had a chance to visit his shop on several occasions, and up here again today, and wanted to share with you guys Neil's shop. He's got a pretty interesting setup. So tell me a little bit about your shop.
Well, I've had a shop. I started out with a garage shop, of course, like most people did, and then when I moved here, I built a shop, and this is a 30 by 50, and it's really still too small.
Aren't they all?
I don't think you can ever get a big enough shop. Originally I did probably more woodworking, but now I do more metalworking, and I don't really make so many things or even fix so many things for other people. I like working on old machine tools, whether they're woodworking or metalworking, and repairing them and getting them going again, and either keeping them or selling them. So most of my time is spent fixing other machines with the machines that I have.
Cool.
So I really enjoy that.
Good, good. So how long have you had this shop?
I think I've been here about 12 years.
Okay. So we're in kind of semi-residential area, I guess you could say. This is a subdivision, but it's bigger lots here, not you know, you're not just right next door to your neighbor, but
yeah, we had to look for something that wasn't in strictly speaking into a subdivision, because they have too many rules about what you can and can't build.
Yes, homeowner associations.
Well, stuff like that. Yeah. So we bought this place, which is about 1.7 acres, and there are no restrictions on what I build here, so
cool.
I was able to build this.
Good deal. Well, let's talk about some of your machines and tools and storage and whatever else you got around here.
Okay. Well, most people that have a moderate size shop have a Bridgeport, because that's sort of a universal mill, and so I've got a Bridgeport also, and I put on DRO, and so I've got that set up on it, and that's really helped a lot. I don't know how I would proceed without it now that I have it. And I've got been cutting some gears and things, so I've got a dividing head, and got a rotary table and some other things that you just have to have when you have a milling machine.
Yeah, the milling machine's usually the cheapest part. It's everything that goes with it, the tooling and all the fixtures and all that kind of stuff. Yep. So did you restore this machine?
Yeah, actually this is sort of a Franken Bridgeport. The main part of the base and the ram and all the head are all Bridgeport, and the knee assembly is Chinese. Because the knee assembly on the Bridgeport was completely worn out. I mean, it had worn down probably 150 to 200 thousandths on one side.
Wow.
Of the dovetails on the Y feed. So I had access to an old Chinese mill, and I got to looking at them and looking at parts and what would fit and what wouldn't, and I said, I bet that will fit. And so I took them off and swapped them, and sure enough it fit right on. So that's what I've been using, and it's been a pretty good machine so far.
That doesn't seem to be uncommon. A lot of times Chinese machines are literally an exact copy of another machine. I have run into that more than one time. I've got a table saw that's a copy of a Delta 1214 saw that was made by Grizzly. Yeah. And I was needing a part for it one time, and of course it's an obsolete machine in Delta's book. It was made in the 40s. Called up Grizzly and just, how much is this part? It was less than 20 bucks. I said, I'll take a chance.
Fit right on.
Perfect fit.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And I'll just make a quick comment on this dividing head. When I bought this dividing head, I bought it on eBay, like a lot of people buy stuff on eBay. And the write-up on it said that it was a heavy-duty dividing head, apparently in decent shape, and it was probably made in the U.S. And it was a dealer on eBay that had sold a lot of industrial equipment, so I thought they knew what they were talking about. So when I got it in, though, it's metric. So I had to learn how to cut metric threads to make chucks fit and that sort of thing. And so cutting metric threads on an old English lathe is something I had to learn how to do.
So you're an engineer by trade, right?
Well, no, I'm retired now. I used to be an engineer.
This looks like some redneck engineering right here.
Actually, I copied this from John Stevenson. You know, he's over in England, I believe, in the UK, and I saw a picture on his one of his websites of a what he called a bridgey crane, I think is what he called it. And I liked it so well that I copied it, and I use it to take chucks on and off of the lathe, and also to put heavy stuff onto the Bridgeport bed, and I can slide it in and out. And I've got a worm gear driven hoist here as opposed to spur gear, so I don't have to worry about a brake or forward and reverse. It's forward and reverse just depending on which direction you turn it, and so it works out very nicely.
What's the lifting capacity on it?
Well, I say it's 200 pounds.
Oh, it's it's right here on it. You can't see that. It's written on there with the Sharpie. So 200-pound maximum
yes,
load.
It's been load tested at that position by me hanging on it.
There you go. Very, very good. Very good.
So yeah, I ran all the numbers before I built it, but I load tested it to make sure.
So this is your lathe?
Yeah, this is a lathe that I bought from a neighbor of my father's who was a retired ship's engineer. And this lathe was originally on an ore carrier on the Great Lakes. And he acquired it, actually he was given it when he retired, and they were dismantling the ship. And I bought it from him several years later. And the reason it's all different colors is because he painted it green and red. And then as I have worked on various parts of it, when I worked on the part, I returned it to black. So it's kind of a lathe of many colors.
I like the green, black, and red. It actually kind of complements itself. I don't know.
I wouldn't say so.
I'm being nice. What can I say?
But this is a 1930 16-inch gap bed, and so the gap beds, you know, there are quite a few 16s around, but gap beds are fairly rare. And
South Bend, right?
South Bend.
Yes.
And that's if you're looking at pictures of South Bends and you look at how the hand wheels are set up, you'll notice that the hand wheels are backwards on this apron. So the longitudinal feed hand wheel on almost all lathes is over here, and the half nut is on the right side, and then the clutches may be pretty much in the same position. But they're reversed on this in order for the bed to be, actually the apron to be shifted to the right for the gap bed, to get the tool post a little closer to the gap.
Okay.
So that's kind of odd.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, when you look at all the South Bend literature and you look and see how the oil passages or oil tubes are, because this is all an open feed system, everything, there's no sumps for oil, everything just flows through and drips on the floor,
Right.
which is why there's cardboard all over the floor. But it turns out that when they switched to this apron configuration for the gap bed, they failed to provide any mechanism for oiling the worm. And so I've added that. And there's actually, I've got a PM thread on doing that. So you can maybe find it if you look hard enough, but it's on there. So I don't know of any other 16 gap beds in this vintage.
Okay.
I haven't seen one. So then I'm setting up to make some parts for a 1923 Crescent Universal Woodworker, and I'll probably be working on that for a long time.
Okay.
That's the project I'm working on now.
Very nice. So what we got here?
Well, this is a Carolina heavy-duty press, it says. I bought it at an auction, and best I can tell, despite the fact that it's supposed to be rated for 55 tons, I think that the cylinder is probably only good for about 30 tons. So I've derated everything in my own mind to limit it to 30 tons, and I bought well, actually I acquired this inner pack and rebuilt the valve, and actually I did pay for it, but not much. Rebuilt the valve and got it working, and have set the relief pressure so that this can't go over 30 tons. And it's been a pretty good press. I didn't like the way it was originally set up so that this could slide back and forth, but that meant that it rocked a lot. So instead of leaving it that way, I bored a series of holes up here so that I could move it to whatever position I wanted and bolt it in place so that it didn't rock, because I was not really comfortable with that.
Okay.
But it works pretty well.
So was this originally hand powered when you got it, or did it have a?
Yeah, it had a hand pump on it, but that was gone.
Okay.
And they wanted a good bit of money to replace it.
Well, this is much nicer.
Much nicer to have the inner pack. So.
Absolutely.
And it works very well with that. So it's a lot faster.
Yes.
And sometimes you want it to be faster. So.
Good.
These are 50s, I would think. I'm not sure exactly. Vintage Craftsman drill presses. And I've had them for at least 20 years. And they've done everything I wanted them to do. I think I replaced bearings on them, but that's about it. They've worked quite nicely.
So they're basically the same model, but one's just a little taller than the other?
Well, somebody actually took this is a hollow tube and this is a solid bar. So somebody replaced the tube with a bar
and raised it up. I got you.
Up a little bit.
Modified it.
Yep.
Okay.
I had this one set up as a mortising machine at one time, and that's why it's got this little collar on it for the mortising attachment. To
sure. Yeah.
But I've never done any mortising, so it stayed on there for, I don't know, at least 10 years. And I decided I'd rather use it as a drill press. So I took that back off.
Nice.
And I don't know whether you can see it in the video or not, but a lot of things in this shop are on casters. And Keith says he's trying to get away from casters, but you know, mine's a very crowded shop, so this table's on casters, the milling machine is on casters. I have lots of tables, little roll-around carts that are on casters. The press is on casters. I have a big metal cutting bandsaw, it's on casters, and all my storage is on casters so that I can move it if I have to.
Right.
And I can move it by myself without any help as long as it's on concrete. So I think that's helped me a lot. I did end up switching for the most part to steel casters on everything because I found that the rubberized casters or something with rubber wheels would get flat spots on it, and then you couldn't roll it.
Yeah, yeah. So. Well, I can tell you from having worked in a garage shop pretty much most of my time, and I know my videos, you really haven't seen that because I haven't ever shot videos in my old shop that I used to have at my house. But, you know, when you're in a smaller area, and even though you got a pretty good sized shop here, you got a lot of stuff in here, having stuff on casters really saves a lot of trouble. And yes, I am trying to get away from having machines on casters in my new shop, but if I get too cluttered up, it'll probably have to go back on casters.
Well, there's some things you pretty much don't want on casters, like, you know, the lathe
needs to be
practical to be on casters. But
sure.
The Bridgeport works out pretty well on casters because it's got a very rigid base, and some of the other things work out pretty well. But, you know, if I need to get my gantry crane back here, for instance, if I ever do, then I'll have to move everything to get it back here. And so
it gives you a lot of flexibility.
Gives that flexibility.
Absolutely. Cool.
Okay, this is an old Brown and Sharp universal mill, horizontal mill that I want to get back going again. It's in pretty sad shape right now. And the reason it's called a universal mill is because it has a rotating table. And this table can rotate at different angles so that it facilitates cutting gears.
Spiral gears, yeah.
Yep. So it may be a while before this one sees operation. I'm planning on putting in a line shaft and powering this with a line shaft. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. There's a lot of things that I would like to be able to do with a horizontal mill, but I don't have one. Cutting big keyways, for one thing, it can be done on a Bridgeport, but it's just so much easier on a horizontal.
Sure.
And so I'm looking forward to getting that done. And this is a little dividing head that a friend of mine gave me. I don't know what brand it is. I can't find a brand on it anywhere, but at least it's American.
It's not metric.
It's not metric.
Yeah.
So, and I've got all the parts to it and chucks that fit it and everything. So I've got to do a few repairs, like I got to fix that. But
And to our metric friends out there, don't take that as a slap. It's just that we don't have tools and machinery that deal in metric if you're working with this old stuff. So it kind of forces you to use English units. So anyway.
well, almost everything I have is old. I mean, this thing here, I think the latest patent on it is 1903.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's probably pre-1910, and so metric nobody was thinking about metric at that time.
At least not in the U.S. Yeah.
The U.S. and the South Bend lathe
Right.
was 1930, so it's all English. But I figured out ways to cut metric threads on the South Bend. I needed to make 3 spur gears and to put on the stud, and I've done that, so I can cut just about any metric thread I want to do now.
Cool. So we're looking down through here, and this kind of looks like Neil's junkyard rescue unit here for old iron.
Yeah, this is the part of the project list. So we've got a couple of old Walker Turner combination metal wood bandsaws, 14-inch bandsaws, and then well, all of this stuff here and everything back this way is all part of a universal woodworker that goes on this base here. And then this is a old silver camelback drill press. Then there's more parts to the universal woodworker here and more back behind the camera. So, you know, a universal woodworker's got a lot of stuff on it. It's this particular, you can think of it as the great granddaddy of the shopsmith.
Yeah.
And this particular one has a 14-inch table saw, a 26-inch bandsaw, an 8-inch joiner, I think it's a 1 1/4-inch shaper, and a horizontal boring machine, all on one base with a small short line shaft with one motor, and it weighs in at about 2,500 pounds. And I think they recommended actually a 7.5 horse motor, but I'm going to put a 5 on it because that's what I've got. And I don't think there will be any time that I try to use 2 machines at once. So I think the 5 will be plenty.
This is going to be a neat machine when you get it all done. I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. I need some information about the bandsaw and some of the linkages on the bandsaw, but sooner or later I'll get that. But all the rest of it I think I have, and I have all the parts for all the rest of it. So between the parts I have to make and parts that I can fix, I can put it back in operation, I hope.
So if I have anything in your shop that I envy, it would have to be this marble bandsaw. And I probably saw one of these first time 10, 15 years ago. And ever since then, this is on my bucket list. I want one of these. So tell me about this marble bandsaw.
Well, I've always liked the marble bandsaw because it's so versatile. It can cut, I think, 18 inches deep and 18 inches thick. And the head can tilt to the right or to the left 45 degrees. So you can cut just about any angle on it you want to cut, and move the vise from this side of the table to the other side, and switch it from the angle which is on the left side here. You could put it on the right side just by swapping the front and back jaws. So they're very versatile. You can cut just about anything you want to cut, and it's automatic. And they still make this bandsaw, but it's quite expensive now, and they've made a lot of changes over the years. There are a lot of weldments where this has a lot of castings.
So the neat thing about this is that as you see, you put your metal in here, and it has an automatic feed, and you saw them crank that out, and it actually just feeds right across here. Yes, and you can change the feeds, you can change the speeds. It's just really a neat machine. You can cut angles on this thing. It just does all kinds of really cool stuff.
If you're going to have one bandsaw, this is the one you ought to have.
This is yeah. And I probably just messed myself up because now the price of them just went up. Huh?
Well, like I said, the new ones are very pricey. I would venture to say that they're in the $30,000 price range.
Yeah.
But then all machine tools are very expensive now.
Sure.
But you should be able to pick one of these up. I don't know what kind of condition they would be in, but you can find them sometimes on eBay for $2,000 to $3,000.
Cool.
Old iron disease got me bad.
You have an addiction for old lathes, it looks like here.
Well, I was given one of these lathes, and I ended up buying the other, and my intent was to, I kind of hoped that I would be able to find an real 18 South Bend. These are 21s, and I hope to find a 24, and I was going to be the only person in the United States that had the 3 big lathes that South Bend made. Later on, they didn't make big lathes. They made 1624s and 1636s, and basically they were 16-inch lathes with riser blocks.
Right.
Well, these are 21s, and they're true 21s, so they don't have riser blocks. They're just bigger lathes. But they didn't make these for very long. They made them in the 20s and maybe early 30s. It's kind of hard to determine. So there are not very many of them around. And so like I say, I was given this one over here that's in pretty sad shape.
What's the bed length on that one?
That one's 14 feet. So it's real short. If I'm going to make a pencil or something, I can use it. But it was in sad shape, and then I saw an advertisement for a lathe over in Mississippi that was supposed to be a 24, and so I went and I bought it, and I knew that it had, it looked to be more complete than this lathe here, and in fact I've got almost everything for it, but the headstock had been modified by somebody to be a variable speed. The current owner thought that it came from the factory that way, but yeah. I don't think that's
no
possible at all. But anyway, when I got it home, I realized it was a 21 too, and not a 24. So I ended up with a 12-foot 21 and a 14-foot 21, and they were both made in 1920, and they were made within about 5 months of each other. So they're very rare, but they were made pretty much at the same time, which I thought was very unusual. So my hope is that I can take them all apart, both of them, and choose the best of all the parts to make one really good lathe, and then one, fair lathe for somebody else. And but that's on the long list of rusty iron that I have to work on. So
very nice.
But I think they'll be good lathes once I get them going.
So another thing that I'm desperately kind of wanting for my shop as I get it going here is a good gantry crane that I can roll around and do some heavy lifting with, and looks like you've got one pretty well built here.
Yeah, I copied this basically from, I don't remember who made one like it, but there's a commercial manufacturer that makes one that looks very similar to this. And being a former mechanical engineer, I did all the stress analysis on everything and designed the size of the beam and the design of the legs and everything to make sure that it would handle the loads that I wanted to load with the safety factors I thought it should have. And I ended up buying casters from, I think it's called Northern Tool now, but it was Northern Hydraulic.
Mm-hmm.
And these casters are rated for 2,500 pounds a piece. And then I've got a chain fall that's a 3-ton, and then a modified trolley that's supposed to be a 2-ton, but I've really modified it to be stronger than that. So I've designed, my intent was to be able to pick up 2 tons.
Mm-hmm.
And because the chain fall was made in China, I decided to get a 3-ton and then derate to 2. And then I've got these come-alongs on the ends here so that I can jack up on the center post here and raise the whole thing. Of course, I can't raise it very much in here, but I can raise it outside to get stuff off trailers and put them on trucks and take stuff off of trucks. And inside the shop, depending on where the crane is, I can raise the beam up all the way to the ceiling if there's not an obstruction like a light or a duct for a dust collector or something like that. So it's proven to be quite useful. It handled these lathes quite nicely, and I've moved all kinds of things with it. So one of the things that everybody has trouble with is storage. At least I think everybody does. I've always got more tooling and more pieces and more parts that I know what to do with, and I couldn't afford expensive Vidmar or any other brand cabinets. And government surplus frequently has these older vintage World War II, Korean War cabinets that are file cabinets, and I usually buy the legal size. And they're very inexpensive. A lot of times you can get them for under $50 a piece. And because they're built heavy, you can put just about anything in them. And so I do. I use them, and I put pretty much anything I want to in them. Like this drawer is full of nails and nail guns, and so it's quite heavy. Oops. And then if I think I need more space, then I build little trays that go rest on the sides of the cabinet, and that way I have 2 layers, and I can slide them around and pick them up and move them out. So like this drawer is full of clamps of all kinds, C-clamps, welding clamps, spring clamps, pipe clamps, whatever. I also have a number of what were key punch card files, and they work very well for putting all kinds of stuff in. And again, they're very heavy, got rollers on the drawers, and I use them for drill bits and cutters of one kind and another, drill sets. And they're shallower drawers, but they'll hold a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you can find them, they're not very expensive. They're becoming quite difficult to find. I guess if you're not older than 55 years old or thereabouts, you might not even know what I'm talking about. But, back in the old days, we had to do key punch cards, and if you've never worked with a key punch card machine, you're lucky.
Agreed. Well, I guess, Neil, that'll be a wrap. I appreciate you taking some time to show folks around your shop here. You got a bunch of stuff, and yeah, this is probably bigger than what most people have, but still it's a fairly small space. You got a lot of stuff in here, very versatile shop that you can do a lot of different things in.
Well, I enjoy my time out here, and I enjoy watching your videos and a lot of other people's videos, and I learn a lot watching YouTube videos, so I appreciate you doing them.
Very good. Well, thank you, and thank you guys for watching as always, and we'll get some more shop tours out to you. as I have time to get around some places and find some interesting places and people for you to meet. So thanks a lot, Neil. Appreciate it.
Thanks.